with the 196th Maneuver Enhancement Brigade in 2010 and 2011. Please welcome CW4 Jay Scherps.
Memorial Day is a day to remember those who have died in war. Memorial Day goes back to the Civil War, the biggest war ever fought on U.S. soil. At Gettysburg alone, more than 43,000 died or were wounded. Think about that. 43,000 died or were wounded fighting for what they believed in. And that was just at Gettysburg. At the conclusion of the Civil War, a group of women going to Columbus, Mississippi Cemetery put flowers on the graves of the soldiers, both the Confederate and the Union. That is how the idea originated. In 1971, Memorial Day was made into a national holiday, honoring all who have died in our country's wars. From World War II, Korea, Vietnam, through the recent fights on the global war on terror, we have felt the heartache and held the hands of families when their service members did not return from duty. Memorial Day is our nation's opportunity to show the families and the communities of our fallen that their loved ones lived in our hearts and will not forget their sacrifice. South Dakota National Guard will never forget 8 of our soldiers who paid the ultimate price while defending freedom overseas since 9/11. And all those lost their lives in service to our country. We keep them in our prayers always and pause this Memorial Day to remember them. The graves at Arlington and in military cemeteries around the world remind us that freedom is not free. Each individual resting there lived and sacrificed for us. While on earth, they were sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, and deeply loved and are deeply missed by someone. We as a nation go forth to ensure their memory and service is honored. Liberty and life are precious gifts. To say we owe a debt of gratitude to those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom is an understatement. As I speak, thousands of soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen are engaged in operations around the globe to keep us safe at home. The world remains uncertain while dictators and terrorists test the very freedoms we have protected for generations. In the South Dakota National Guard, there are soldiers and airmen now serving far from home and stand watch so that we may remain safe and free. We keep them in our prayers and show our gratitude to those who are serving around our nation to protect our homeland. We also owe a debt of gratitude to their families and the loved ones for their sacrifice and for being that strength so that they may do their mission. As long as there are enemies of freedom who challenge our way of life, we are fortunate as a nation to have men and women who are willing to go forth and defend it. These deployed troops may be far from home, but they remain close in our hearts. We salute them and pray for their safe return. Now, as Americans around our nation pause this Memorial Day, we know this holiday weekend also represents the beginning of summer activities, time with family and friends, backyard barbecues. I ask that we be reminded that none of this would be possible without the heroes who gave their all. I challenge each of you to pass on the importance of Memorial Day to our youth. It was 25 years or so ago when I was asked to come out here to the Servicemen Cemetery and set up flags one morning for Memorial Day. I didn't know anything about this cemetery. But I thought to myself, what a great way to get involved. What a great way to bring my daughter out here, educate her on the true meaning of Memorial Day, so she would know it's not just the barbecues and getting together with families and friends. So, bright and early that morning, Katie and I came out to help place the flags. I know there's some of you here today that remember what it was like setting the flags back then, where 0630 in the morning actually meant 0600. The flag holders were buried, and we would use metal detectors and screwdrivers to find them, to locate them, to set the flags. There were 2 different sized flagpoles, and every year we'd sit back and argue and talk about which ones went where. Did the big ones go up front, or was that the small ones? There was one flag holder that was positioned in a bush right over in the southwest section of section 2. Katie, being only 5 years old at the time, she was the one that was usually tasked to crawl into that bush with a screwdriver, poke around until she found that metal plate, and we'd put that flag in the middle of that bush. There was another flag over in the northeast corner of this section that the snowplow had hit it one winter, and it was leaning to the north a bit. But we had one flag that had a bent pole. So every year after we set up the flags, we'd step back and we'd look to see where the bent one was at. And we'd take that bent pole, we'd bring it over into that corner, place it, and lo and behold, it would fly straight. Every year since that first time, we would come out bright and early in the morning, we'd set up the flags, and then we'd go out for breakfast. It became our tradition. It became our way of honoring those heroes. There have been many improvements to this cemetery since then. The bush is gone, the flag holders are much easier to find, and they're all flying straight. And Katie has long since moved on. But most Memorial Days she makes it back to help set the flags, and we reminisce about the flag in the bush, the years that the bugs were so bad they ate us alive, or the years it was so cold we had to dig out the winter coats before we came out to set up the flags. But it was tradition. But most importantly, we take the time to remember those that have given the ultimate sacrifice so we can enjoy the freedoms we do today. As I look around here today, there are youth involved in this cemetery. There were youth out here this morning at, well, it was 0630 for them. Haven't quite figured out 0630 does mean 0600. So they helped us set up the flags, helped us set up the chairs. As I pulled in this morning, I see the Boy Scouts are out there helping, handing out the brochures. And there's numerous children in the audience today, whether they're your children, your grandchildren, the youth of our neighborhood. Because you're taking the time to show your children or your grandchildren the true meaning of Memorial Day, the importance of what this day represents, these children will pass that on to their children. And some of those will join the service. They'll sign that dotted line, and they will be willing to give their life so that we may continue the freedoms of the greatest nation on earth. Thank you for this opportunity to reflect on the meaning of today, remembering those who lived, served, and died for us. Thank you. May God bless you, the families of our fallen, the United States of America.